Hi everyone! In this short concept video, we will define diffusion versus osmosis, which is a common confusion between these two concepts. So diffusion is defined as when we are moving solutes from one location to another, movements of solutes. Whereas osmosis, it is defined as moving water from one location to another. Now, why would there be a situation where you are doing diffusion versus osmosis? For diffusion, let's say you have a container, and in the container, there is a membrane that separates the two sides. And this particular membrane has big gaps in them. So in either side, you have water as your solution. And inside one side, you have solutes that are pretty big, but they can fit through this particular membrane. Whereas on the other side, you have less of them. Okay, so this membrane, we know that it is permeable to solute. So when the solute, which is these purple circles here, is permeable to the membrane that separates two sides of the water solution, those solutes will just go from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. It is just the law of diffusion. Wherever we have higher amount of solutes, it will always go towards the sides with lower amount of solutes. And the solute themselves can be moving in this case because the membrane does have holes that are big enough for these solutes to pass through. So these purple solutes will just cross over to the other side until they reach equilibrium. In this case, 3 purple circles or solutes on both sides. When do we then have osmosis? So again, we have a similar situation. You have a container with a semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane. And again, you have water on both sides. And now this particular membrane is not permeable to another type of solutes, let's say. So again, those pink are solutes, and blue is water in both parts of the container. And you have, again, less solutes on one side, more solute on the other side. But we know that this membrane it should be given to you in the problem, whatever, situation you're working with, is impermeable to solute. In this case, remember the solute is the little triangle, which means these little triangles cannot pass through this semi-permeable membrane. Now, due to just nature, it will still try to equalize both sides' concentration of the solute. Even though the solute can't move, remember, water can always move through these membranes, semi-permeable membrane. So the main rule to remember for osmosis is that water always follow salt, which means water will always move to the side with a higher amount of concentration. Now, that sounds like a mouthful, which is why I always just tell my students, water always follows salt as an easy way to remember. Water, by osmosis, will always flow to the side with higher amount of concentration, in a sense, trying to dilute the side with higher concentration of solutes to a lower concentration. So in this case, you have more solute on this side, but it can't move. So no diffusion will happen. Only osmosis can happen. So water will move from the side with less solute to the side with more solutes. So water will flow from the right side to the left side, where now the new water line will be maybe somewhere down here. It will move downwards, and all that water will go towards the other side to increase that volume, such that now this side is more diluted, this side will be more concentrated. Now, of course, the solutes in this situation may continue draining and draining and draining, differing more and more until there's very tiny amount of liquid left, because we only have one little solute here. But this movement of water by osmosis will continue until both sides' solute concentration is the same. But we're not, changing the solute concentration by movement of solutes. We're changing the solute concentration by movement of water or the fluid itself. So that is the main difference between diffusion, where the solute is permeable to the membrane and the solute move themselves from a higher area of concentration to an area with lower concentration. Osmosis is only for solute that is impermeable to the membrane, and it is not the solutes that's doing the movements, but the water that's going to move, and the direction in which the water moves will always follow salt or towards the side with a higher amount of solute concentration. In a sense, diluting the side with higher concentration out, concentrating the side with lower concentration.